Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of FFB from the 50, brought to you by JDP Media, where we tackle every issue from both sides of the field. I am Dan Amsler, and yesterday I posted a video where I was setting my roster for my Dynasty League. Today I'm going to go ahead and set my roster in another league called It's a New Day, so it'd be the second league down. I am once again named Whirling Dervish. I am currently at 8-4 in second place. I've got a huge matchup this week. I'm going against Nathan's Neat Team, who is also 8-4. So I'm in second place. Nathan's in third. We are running low on time, and this league is tight. So let me pull up the league here, and let's take a look. So How's My Skittles is number 1 at 9-3, and then you have me, Nathan, and Jordan's team, who are all tied at 8-4, and CD's Nuts is at number 5. So CD's Nuts still has a possible chance to make the playoffs. We'll see how this goes. But this matchup this week is vitally important to me. So there's only 2 games left in the regular season. And I'm going against Nathan's Neat Team. So not only is Nathan currently in third place with the same record I have, Nathan is my brother. And nothing would make me happier than to totally kick his ass this week. So we're going to go over my roster. We're going to take a look at what I'm going to do. Wish me luck. I love kicking my brother's ass. It's fun. Besides, if he does, he ends up rubbing it in. I would like to say earlier this season when we played each other, I believe it was week 2 or 3. I ended up absolutely crushing him. Had the biggest blowout of the week. I did take a screenshot of that, and I am going to frame it, and I am going to give it to him for Christmas. I think that's just a fantastic Christmas idea. All right. Having said all that, I do want to give a special shout out. So I'm sitting at number 2 at 8-4 with 1,811 points, which is by far and away the tops in the league. But I want to take a look at number 9, the Stooges. So the Stooges is only 3-9 on the season, but with 1,698 points, they actually have the second most points in the league this year, and they're sitting at 3-9. And it's not hard to figure out why. So when you look at the points against, they've had over 1,800 points scored against them. Nobody in this league has had more than 1,700 points scored against them except for poor Stooges. Stooges actually won this league last year. He was the champion. It was no mistake. He had a fantastic team last year as well. If you were ever going to make an argument for why a head-to-head matchup is not a good setup, a good format, this would probably be it. There's really no reason that the person with the second most points in the league is sitting at 3-9. But Tony, owner of the Stooges, I want you to know I see you down there. I still tip my cap to you. You've just had some really bad luck. So not much you can do there. All right, so having said all that, let's go back up here to my team. Let's click on here, and let's take a look at what my roster is. So right now, Yahoo has me projected to lose to Nathan 144.94 to his 146.28. All right, let's take a look, see if I can do anything to improve this. Now, just like last time, one of the things I always want to do is I want to look at these injury reports. So right now, currently in my roster, I have Patrick Mahomes as my quarterback. I have Justin Jefferson and Deebo Samuel as my wide receivers. Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams as my running backs. Hawkinson as my tight end. Right now I've got Pollard and Swift in as my 2 flex spots. My bench consists of Curtis Samuel, Odell Beckham, Zay Jones, Zonovan Knight, Samaje Perine, and Jameson Williams, who still has not seen the field yet. All right, so looking at this, I do have a couple concerns. The first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and look at the new update on Deebo Samuel. I want to find out what's going on with him. All right, so we had a midweek downgrade. I typically find that to be pretty concerning. He had a good week back on week 11, going for 22.4 points, but he was definitely hampered, I think, in week 12 against the Saints. We see he only had a 7.3 point output. Now, I am optimistic about Deebo. I think the Elijah Mitchell injury helps him out tremendously. If you want to know more about why I feel like that, go back and watch some of my previous videos. I talk about how the Christian McCaffrey trade hurt Deebo Samuel more than anybody. When Elijah Mitchell came off the IR and was able to play again, he got a ton of carries out of the backfield as well. So Deebo Samuel's usage definitely dropped. However, unfortunately, no amount of usage matters if you're hurt. So Elijah Mitchell goes back to the IR. I'm excited about Deebo Samuel. Now he's dealing with his own injury. So we'll see. I'm going to watch the injury report. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to stick with him anyway. We'll get to the reason why for that here in a little bit. All right. So Justin Jefferson obviously is going to stay in as my wide receiver 1. Patrick Mahomes is definitely going to be my QB1. Looking at my running backs, I've got some options. So I've got Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams in right now. I've got Tony Pollard, DeAndre Swift as my flexes. And I did go down and pick up Zonovan Knight. I've got Samaje Perine. I grabbed him right after Joe Mixon went down with his injury. And as you can see, he's performed pretty well for me. Week 11, he had over 30 points. Last week in Week 12, even against a tough Tennessee run defense, he still scored 19.3. Now, I'm not going to play Samaje unless we get some kind of word that Joe Mixon is going to be out once again with his concussion. If Joe Mixon is out again, Samaje Perine will go into one of my starting spots. To me, that's a no-brainer. He is active as a pass catcher out of the backfield. That game is going to have a lot of points put up. To me, that's a no-brainer. So if Joe Mixon is out, Samaje Perine goes right back into my starting roster. The only reason I've got him on my bench right now is because Joe Mixon has returned, at least to a limited fashion. Now, the fact that he is not actually fully practicing does give some concern. He's got to make his way through that concussion protocol. Once he does, though, he'll be back. He'll be fine. At that point, Samaje Perine's value will diminish. So I'm going to put him on my bench for right now. We'll see what happens. All right, let's take a look at Aaron Jones. He's got an injury update. Shin glute, limited on Thursday's practice. He'll likely be removed. Yep, I agree. More of just a Veterans Day off, I would say. Now, I'm going to say this. I don't really care as far as Aaron Jones goes who the quarterback is. I don't care if it's going to be Aaron Rodgers. I don't care if it's going to be Jordan Love. Aaron Jones, if he's playing, is going to stay in my roster in a starting spot because Chicago has been absolutely torched by running backs this year. That defense is terrible. So when you take a look at this, I mean, it's just not good. Aaron Jones put up 32 points against him back in Week 2. We've had Ramondre Stevenson go over 20, Dalvin Cook go over 20. We've had Tony Pollard go over 30. I mean, it's not been great. So one way or the other, he is going to stay in my starting roster. So let's go back out here to my team. Get this out of the way. Now, Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift are two interesting options. Jacksonville is certainly capable of putting up points. Their defense doesn't scare me. So let's take a look at the usage. So as we can see, Jamal Williams has been quite productive. He scored double-digit points every single week, going clear back to Week 8. He had a couple of down weeks, against New England and Dallas, but those are two really good defenses. Last week, he only scored 10.6 against Buffalo. But again, pretty good defense. I almost kind of feel like I have to leave him in there. I don't know what's going on with DeAndre Swift this year. There's no doubt that his upside is pretty high. I know they're concerned about his health, but at this point, he's been healthy. He hasn't been on the injury report the last 2 or 3 weeks, and he's just not getting the usage. Look at this, 5 carries in Week 11, 5 carries in Week 12. Not a whole lot of work in the passing game either as a receiver out of the backfield, so his usage is down. Right now, I've got him in there. Just not 100% sure I'm going to keep him there. Tony Pollard, I'm going to for sure keep in the lineup. As I talked about yesterday in the Dynasty League, I really feel like that's more of a Zeke Elliott game. Indianapolis is not going to put up a ton of points. This is not one of those games where Dallas is going to have to score 30 points to win. They're not going to have to score every time they go down to the field just to make sure they maintain a lead or keep pace. So, I mean, it's really more of a Zeke Elliott game, but Tony Pollard's so explosive. With no better options than I have on my roster, he's probably going to be there. All right, tight end, obviously, T.J. Hawkinson, the only tight end I have on the roster. But here's where it gets interesting. I got a couple different choices here. I've got Curtis Samuel, and he's actually played pretty well this year. He's seen a downgrade ever since Taylor Heinicke came back. We've seen Terry McLaurin take on a bigger role. Logan Thomas has cut more passes. I'm going to keep him around just because he is a dynamic playmaker. He's probably not my option. Obviously, Odell hasn't signed, but here's where it gets interesting. Zay Jones. All right, so Zay Jones was limited in practice. It was probably just because of how many points he put up and how much his usage was. But when we look at this, the last 2 games that they played, so Week 10 against Kansas City, they had the bye in Week 11. Week 12 against Baltimore, he saw double-digit targets. 10 targets in Week 10, 14 targets in Week 12. Detroit's defense is absolutely lousy. Absolutely lousy. So, I mean, I'm kind of tempted to go ahead and put Zay Jones in over DeAndre Swift, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's just take a look at what this roster looks like, okay? Then the other option I have is Zonovan Knight. So I went out and picked him up after the game against the Bears. Now, I want to make sure that we're curbing expectations here for Zonovan Knight. He did look really, really good against the Bears, but so is every other running back that's played against them. So not 100% sure that that's going to to hold water, but I want to have him on my roster. He did look dynamic. So right now he's going to stay down here. He's going to stay on the bench. Michael Carter's already been listed as doubtful for this week. James Robinson will probably be activated again. So we'll see. Ty Johnson got his carries out of the backfield, got his receptions, so he got his touches. But Zonovan Knight really looked dynamic. I want to have him on my roster for the stretch run in case he's able to seize that job. So right now this is what it's looking like. Now, like I said, Samaje Perine is going to go in at some point if Joe Mixon's out. So then the question becomes, where does he go? I would probably actually put him in over Tony Pollard right now. But at the same time, I'm watching, the Deebo Samuel injury news very carefully. If it looks like he's going to be doubtful, if he's out again today, this is Friday. If he's out again today, I will probably go and take Deebo Samuel out, put Zay Jones in my wide receiver 2 slot, and then I'll move Samaje Perine into the flex if that is the case. Otherwise, let's say that Deebo's out and Joe Mixon is available. At that point, I do have a decision to make. At that point, I'd probably go and put Zay Jones into that wide receiver 2 spot and put DeAndre Swift back in as my starter over Zonovan Knight. I'm not sure how that feels. I mean, it's not a real sexy feel, but it is what it is at this point. I may also go out and take a look at free agency again. There's been some more moves in the league, so some guys may become available. Going down here, looking at my kicker, I got Jason Myers. I'm not really going to touch that. He's performed pretty well for me this year. Washington's defense has really come along strong the last few weeks. They scored 15 points against Philly in Week 10. That was impressive. Week 11 against Houston, they scored 19. That's not overly impressive. I mean, Houston's offense is what it is. Week 12, they went ahead and put up 7 points against Atlanta. Now, the fact that they're playing New York does scare me just a little bit. But here's the thing. They know they've got New York 2 weeks in a row. So they got New Week 4, week 13 on the 4th. Bye week 14, play the Giants again in week 15. So this is something they've been eyeing. I'm sure they have a plan in place. I mean, that New York offense, that does look kind of stymied. If you can bottle up Saquon Barkley, I think you got a pretty good shot at getting some good fantasy points as a defense. So I don't plan on touching them. They're hot right now. I'm going to roll with the hot hand. So now it looks like Nathan is set to beat me even worse. I'm okay with that because I feel like I've got some upside. These projections are great and everything, but typically I make my own decision. I don't just go based upon what these projections say. All right, folks, that's going to be it for this league. Until next time, see ya.